The puppet strings of wealth, how money secretly controls our world. To truly understand this, we need to take a look back in history. You know, there's a lot of talk around about making America great again. And I'm all for it. But it's an impossibility if we don't cut those strings. And come to think of it, when was America great? Making it great again, when was it great? Actually, there was a time. There was a time when it was referred to as the happiest nation on the face of the globe. How about that? Let's look at the full quote. Around 1750, this New England was very prosperous. Benjamin Franklin was able to write, "There was abundance in the colonies and peace was reigning on every border. It was difficult and even impossible to find a happier and more prosperous nation on all the surface of the globe. Comfort was prevailing in every home, people in general kept the highest moral standards, and education was widely spread." Wouldn't it be great if we could say that again about America? When Ben Franklin went over to England to represent the interests of the colonies, he was asked why America was so prosperous. What was the reason for it? And here's what he said. "That is simple. In the colonies, we issue our own paper money. It is called colonial scrip. We issue it in proper proportion to make the goods pass easily from the producers to the consumers. In this manner, creating ourselves our own paper money, we control its purchasing power, and we have no interest to pay to no one." The Bank of England heard about the colonies issuing their own currency. As a result, Parliament hurriedly passed the Currency Act of 1764. This prohibited colonial officials from issuing their own money and ordered them to pay all future taxes in gold or silver coins. In other words, it forced the colonies on a gold or silver standard. For those who still believe that a gold standard is the answer for America's current monetary problems, look what happened to America after that. Writing in his autobiography, Franklin said, "In 1 year, the conditions were so reversed that the era of prosperity ended, and a depression set in to such an extent that the streets of the colonies were filled with unemployed." Franklin claims that this was even the basic cause for the American Revolution. As Franklin put it in his autobiography, the colonies would have gladly borne the little tax on tea and other matters had it not been that England took away from the colonies their money, which created unemployment and dissatisfaction. The inability of the colonists to get the power to issue their own money permanently out of the hands of George III and the international bankers was the prime reason for the Revolutionary War.
The battle over who gets to issue our money has been the pivotal issue throughout the history of the United States. Wars are fought over it, depressions are caused to acquire it. Yet after World War I, this battle was rarely mentioned in newspapers or history books. Why? By World War I, the money changers, with their dominant wealth, had seized control of most of the nation's press. Throughout U.S. history, this battle over who gets the power to issue our money has raged. In fact, it's changed hands back and forth 8 times since 1764. Yet this fact has virtually vanished from public view for over 3 generations behind a smokescreen emitted by Fed cheerleaders in the media. Until we stop talking about deficits and government spending and start talking about who controls how much money we have, it's all just a big shell game, a complete and utter deception. It won't matter if you pass an ironclad amendment to the Constitution mandating a balanced budget. Our situation is only going to get worse until we root out the cause at its source. What's the solution for our national problem? First of all, education. That's what this video presentation is all about. But secondly, we must act. We must take back the power to issue our own money. To sum it up, in 1913, Congress gave an independent central bank, deceptively named the Federal Reserve, a monopoly over issuing America's money. And the debt generated by this quasi-private corporation is what is killing the American economy.
The Federal Reserve was created by Congress in 1913, and it was entrusted with the power granted originally to the Congress by the U.S. Constitution to coin money and regulate the value thereof.
The Constitution says that only Congress can coin money and set its value. So how did this private bank get to print our money? The government gets its powers from the consent of the governed. We didn't give that power to a private bank. In America today, we have a private central bank with the monopoly power of printing money. It is an unelected, secretive, and dangerous institution that manipulates the economy by destroying the purchasing power of those who work and save and transferring it to those who kill and steal, tax and destroy. What is it? You know, it's the Federal Reserve. Twice before, we had national banks that were abolished by Congress. But the creature from Jekyll Island, that's the place off the coast of Georgia where the Federal Reserve was hatched, lives on today, risen from the grave, and now intent on devaluing our future and keeping Americans in the dark about the truth of where their money comes from. Don't let any fancy talk from the New York Times or the liberal media or Treasury Secretary Geithner fool you. The federal government, that would be you and me, the American taxpayer, borrows money from the Federal Reserve and must repay that money with interest. Before the Fed existed, the Treasury directly circulated currency backed by gold. If the American people ever wish to regain control of the government, we need to understand the monetary system, and we need to alter materially the banking system so as to replace our debt-based, money-out-of-thin-air economy with an economy based on production, on savings, on capitalism, and on competition. Only then can true prosperity return. Boy, if we ever get to audit the Fed and its money lenders, the demand to end the Fed will become overwhelming.
To the person who is about to grab their car keys and go to the ATM and take out $3,000, you say what?
You don't need to. Your ATM is safe, your banks are safe, there's enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system.
Infinite cash? How much influence can infinite cash buy? How many nefarious activities can it fund? It's really not possible to go into to connect every dot. I think what I'm going to do now, so this video doesn't get crazy long, is simply to list all the things that are either directly or indirectly, or at least exacerbated by the fact that we don't issue our own currency, and this private for-profit bank has a monopoly on it, and they have infinite cash. You know that's bullshit. Oh, did I say that? Can I say that? Anyway, that's ridiculous. So the simple fact is this: every nation has to increase its money supply because of the increase in population and business. They all have to. The only question is, are they going to do it? Or are they going to give that power away to a central bank? There is no point in giving that power away. It's in the Constitution for a reason. The Founding Fathers knew the central banks caused poverty. They put it in the Constitution so that wouldn't happen. Congress betrayed us, and they've betrayed us every day since because they could stop it. But they're getting rich. Congress is so corrupt, I don't even know how we can fix it. But I know the dots all point back to the Federal Reserve, central banks. I hope you got something out of this video, and I wish you well, and now I'm just going to list all the things that it's connected to.